Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, we have a special report in regards to Peters Township High School football team, Whippeal Class 5A champion. Peters Township captured its first Whippeal championship, scoring 36 unanswered points between the first and third quarters, as the top-seeded Indians defeated third-seeded Pine Richland 43-17. In the Class 5A title game, Peters Township 13-0 outgained Pine Richland 482 to 151 on offense, a mark that included 298 to 13 gap in rushing yards and 20 to 9 in first downs. Sophomore quarterback Nolan DeLucia finished with 184 passing yards and 3 touchdowns on 14 of 25 attempts and added 81 rushing yards on 13 carries. Nolan DeLucia connected with junior tight end Mickey Vaccarello and senior wide receivers Ethan Wertman and Carter Shanafelt on touchdown passes. Senior running backs Vinny Sarcone and Preston Blair scored from 33 and 63 yards out, respectively. On Friday, December 8th, Peters Township competed in the PI AA state champion final game against Imhotep Institution Charter School. So as a Peters Township football alumnus, I want to congratulate the team, Coach Plack, on your amazing efforts this year. So you'll be presented now with a proclamation that Ms. Shanafelt will read to you.
So a proclamation of Peters Township recognizing the 2023 Peters Township High School football team for their efforts in winning the 2023 Whippeal 5A Section 1 championship. Whereas it is with great pride and admiration that we recognize the remarkable achievements of the 2023 Peters Township High School football team. And whereas this outstanding team, through their unwavering dedication, exceptional skill, and tireless effort, completed the regular season with an undefeated record, showcasing their unparalleled talent and commitment to excellence. And whereas the 2023 football team demonstrated unparalleled sportsmanship, teamwork, determination throughout their season, inspiring both their fellow students and the broader community. And their exceptional performance culminated in the crowning achievement of winning the Whippeal 5A Section 1 championship, a testament to their relentless pursuit of greatness and their ability to overcome challenges with resilience and fortitude. And whereas the members of the 2023 Peters Township High School football team, along with their dedicated coaches, have brought immense pride and honor to the community through their outstanding achievements on the field. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Peters Township Council that on this day, Monday, February 26, 2024, we do hereby honor and commend the 2023 Peters Township High School football team for their remarkable accomplishments and for serving as shining examples of athleticism, sportsmanship, and perseverance. We extend our heartfelt congratulations to each member of the team, their coaches, families, and supporters for their unwavering dedication and for bringing immense joy and pride to our community. Approved in testimony whereof the last part says the signatures of Dr. Tom Perosco and Paul Lauer. So congratulations, boys.
Coach Plack, if you want to come forward and make a comment if you want, and then present your players with their proclamations.
Sure. So first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for inviting us tonight. It was, just hearing you speak brought back a lot of memories, from the season. We were fortunate enough to have a great group of kids, a great locker room. And it's not just this year. We've had, I've been here for 8 years, and just 8 years of continual support from the township, as well as the administration at school, as well as great ball players, great parents that have trusted us with their kids. So it wasn't just 1 year in the making. It was a lot of years leading up to this because of you guys, the parents, and school, and our young men. So again, I'd like to thank you. And if you had a lot or as little support for us this year, I'd like to thank the community for all the support they provide us. All right. Introduce our players?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. We have, this would help. Are their names on
No.
it? No. Okay. I have senior captain Jake Velgich.
Jake, we'll stay up here. We'll take a picture with all you guys.
Jake just got elected to play in the East-West game for the western side of Pennsylvania. Oh, nice. Senior Dom Sirianni. Dom's on his way to Carnegie Mellon to play football in the future.
Got to be smart.
Great job. Junior, he was elected as a captain already for next year by our last year's captains, Franco Muscatello. We have junior Nick McCullough, two-way starter and member of the basketball team. We have a sophomore starting center for us. Very interesting. A young man, senior, went down second week of the season, and we thrusted him in there, and he lasted the whole season. Did a great job for us. Alex Klein. And we just heard this man's stats. Sophomore quarterback Nolan DeLucia. Thank you very much.
Hey, Coach,
Yep.
from the standpoint of a fan and a member of this community, I want to reflect on that Friday evening in the eastern part of the state against that other team, and I don't even remember the name. But no, I'm saying that deliberately, okay? Because the community that came out to cheer for you guys, it had to be, I don't know, did somebody count them? Several hundred, if not a couple thousand people from Peters out to watch you guys play. If you looked at the other side, I think there was a couple of mom and dads over there, but there was no community behind that team. And I think that's the point that is important to understand. The community here appreciates what you did. They came to support you. We'll probably be there again next year. Okay, guys? Thanks.
That's the expectation.
Thank you, yeah.
God, I'm going to shoot a picture of them. You guys want to stand up? We're going to stand up there. We should get them in block.
They look bigger in the field, too. You know that.
Frank, why don't you
Also needs to step.
Count of three. 1, 2, 3. We get one more.
We used to have professional photographers.
We'll see you guys
He
back
looked
next year.
Congrats. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you.
The next portion probably be. So you can take that.
I didn't want to take that.
There you go. That's a win-win,
We're
right?
on the same page there.
Coach, we're going to get one for every player.
That's what he's going.
All right, yeah. Perfect. Yeah, no problem.
He's going to take those, right? How many do you need?
Thanks, Coach.
Mark beat you here.
All right, moving on to the public hearing. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to afford interested parties the opportunity to present relevant testimony as to the proposed change to the zoning district map. Notice of this public hearing was published in the Observer Reporter on January 28th and February 4th. The affected property owners were notified by mail and the properties were posted. Letters were also sent out to adjacent property owners. There will be a brief presentation by Township staff as well as the developer. This will be followed by questions from council as well as comments from the audience. Action on this ordinance may occur this evening. Mr. Lauer.
Yes, Peters Township began the process required for rezoning of multiple parcels. These include parcels located at 490 and 555 Sugar Camp Road, as well as 231 Froebe Road. The effect of the zoning map change will be to remove these parcels from the Conservation Residential Overlay Zoning District. The process was initiated by the Peters Township Planning Commission at their meeting on December 14th. It was the unanimous recommendation of the commission members that Peters Township Council adopt the ordinance changing the township zoning map so as to remove the parcels from the Conservation Residential Overlay District. On January 11th, meeting of the Peters Township Planning Commission, commission members reaffirmed their support for this proposed change to the map. The purpose of tonight's hearing is to afford interested parties the opportunity to present relevant testimony as to the proposed change to the zoning district map. As you had indicated, notice what have been published in the Observer Reporter on January 28th and February 4th. And as you also indicated, council may, if it chooses, take action on this tonight. So,
Any questions from council?
Other than the parcels that you referred to, are there any other parcels, will there be any parcels remaining in that conservation overlay district?
The simple answer is yes.
Undeveloped, Frank, or developed?
Undeveloped.
No, never mind.
Then probably, I believe the answer is no.
no, I think that's correct.
But developed, we did keep some overlay because they're existing for making them make sure they're not non-conforming.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Now, having said that, there is a plan that's out there, the Woodbriar plan. The zoning on that has been changed, but the application was made prior to the change, so it's still under the Conservation Residential Zone.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the audience?
I make a motion that we close the public.
I did have,
Yep.
you know what, I'm not the court reporter, swear anybody in there wants to provide testimony.
I just want to ask a question.
You still have to because they're on the record.
Anybody that's going to testify? Raise your hand. Right hand. Do you swear the testimony you will give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Have your name.
Steve Renz, R-E-N-Z, 838 East McMurray Road. I just had a question. The 231 Froebe Road, is that whole development on Froebe Farm, or is that something different?
It's the Froebe Farm property, yes.
Okay, it's one we were talking about. So
We're still talking about, because there have been multiple applications made to develop that property under the CR zone. This would change that, and if by some chance those submittals are not approved, then the zoning would revert to low density, and any future submittals would have to use the low density
okay,
regulation.
okay, thank you.
I think there was somebody else that raised their hand to get sworn. Was it you?
Yeah, I'm to testify on something later.
This is just for this hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought they were just swearing everyone who was going to testify at all during the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, then I want to say swear.
Well, you are.
Do you swear the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Have your name.
Ann Shaner, S-H-A-N-E-R. I just want to say that, you know, like I said before, I'm not against what the people want, but, and I have farmers in my family, and the way I see it is they always said, and I do believe some farmers in the township have said too, that their land is their 401k. So I just want to put that out there, because I feel they have the right to develop their land. They have the right to sell.
Whoever owned that farm sold it, so
Okay, yeah.
their 401k was cashed in.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I don't know these things, but anyway, I'm for the farmers as far as them being able to cash in on their property, okay? I want to make sure that they got...
I understand.
Okay, you understand that? All right, because that's... I don't want anybody stopping anybody from doing that.
All right, Annie.
Any other comments, questions?
I make a motion that we close.
I got one more.
See, out of spite, I'm not going to make that motion.
Yeah, I think that's.
Somebody else
You
did.
swear the testimony will give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Alicia, can you spell it?
ALICIASTE. 243
Thank you.
Okay, I'm a newbie to this. So what's the other parcel of land? Is that the horse farm on Sugar Camp Road?
Yes.
Okay, what's changing with that? Our understanding is it was sold and it's going to be remaining as a horse farm. Is
Well-
that accurate?
Well, every piece of property in Peters Township has some sort of zoning that's applied to it. And you're absolutely correct. The people who have bought that have indicated to us that their intention is to leave it remain as it is. But having said that, it right now is zoned conservation residential. So at some point in time, someone will develop that property, and the question is, when that occurs, what should it be developed as? And what this does is to remove the CR zoning and put it back at low-density residential. So if at some point in the future, someone wants to no longer have the horse farm there and want to develop it, it will be low-density residential.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm because in all speak, for clarity, I think everyone has a right to know what's really going on with it. I think it's wonderful that it's staying on Horse Farm. It's an asset to this community. I know we're in a horrible situation with housing, and housing is a definite need. However, with costs where they are in the world today, we're doing very little to help the residents in Peters Township who live in neighborhoods that are really in decline. And just as I live in Orchard Highlands, there are it's a very active community for home sales because of the proximity to the schools and to business. No one has a problem selling a home. However, I will tell you, there's no incentive for people to maintain their properties, particularly older properties in this township. And there are an awful lot of plans where there are homes that are in great decline. We're building new homes all the time, great amenities. There's no incentive for people who are in existing older homes to do anything. I look at what has happened on Bebout Road at the corner of East McMurray. Confluence Financial went into that space where Just About Kids was. It's a beautiful building. It's very nice. The minute construction started, the house next door, and it was owned by someone who was older, nothing has been done on it. It was raised, and now it's going to be a mixed-use piece of property. So what's happening to Bebout Road between East McMurray Road and Valley Brook Road? The writing's on the wall. People have older homes in that area. There's a home across the street that butts up against McMurray Highlands. We have friends that live in McMurray Highlands. There's a great concern about what's happening with the intersection. Some land's being taken from the front of their plan. Cohen's going to expand their store. Great for them. There's going to be an awful lot of light pollution. And what's going to continue down Bebout Road? Unless you have homeowners who are going to really stand strong and maintain their properties, they are financially better off to let them fall into disarray and sell them as a commercial piece of property, particularly in that corridor. And it's really uncalled for. And I don't know, from a standpoint of our council, you've got folks who live in neighborhoods that are really in decline. The average price of a home in Peters Township is about $400,000. That's great. If you live on Just About Road, you're really pushing the value up. What about people who live on, let's say, Ammons Drive? Does anybody here even go to Ammons Drive? You ever been over there?
Yep.
Have you seen the homes over there? Okay. Yeah, and I'm not disparaging anybody, but why aren't we doing anything to encourage people to improve the quality of their properties? We have a great tax base.
The market encourages people to improve their property because of the value that they can get out of it.
Yes,
if they don't
I know.
want to do that, that's their choice.
I
But
understand
those
that.
areas are never going to be commercial. I
No.
mean, that's residential, and it's always probably going to always
I
be
understand that.
residential.
but they're never going to be nice residential anymore either, and you know that.
Well, I don't know that. I really
I think
don't.
for the most part, we can all accept the fact that there were neighborhoods in this community that are in great decline. And I probably should have come here 3 years ago, but I probably should have opened up my mouth about it, because I live in a neighborhood that sits on the verge of that. For people who are investing in their homes and they're putting on additions and spending a lot of money, it really makes you do a math calculation to, is it worth it to do this? Because eventually the neighborhood falls in decline. Our neighborhood will happen too, and eventually it's going to happen to McMurray Highlands. If as a group, and I'm not saying that you guys have to make dispensation, but I think maybe you need to think differently and maybe bring to the forefront to folks, and maybe they should take care of their properties. I'm just saying that because overall, we keep expanding every piece of land here. All right, the houses in some cases aren't getting better. They're made of lower quality material, the lot sizes are smaller because people can't afford to build. But the neighborhoods they're willing to look at in Peters Township, where you get the higher tax base, are shrinking too. I'm just saying, you need to think about what's going on. You want higher income professionals moving in here with good salaries to pay wage tax. Well, if they can't afford to build a house, and a lot of the existing homes in the township that are available, because inventory is so limited, are in neighborhoods that they don't feel are desirable, where are they going to go? They're going to go further down south in North Strabane, where there's more communities, that they can build a little bit cheaper, they can get a little more land, instead of trying to retain them here.
Do you have an idea of how to make that happen?
No, I think you guys should meet with some of the realtors in the area. That's what I think you should do. Seriously. And think differently. Instead of just developing everything that's out here, which is, I've lived here since 1986. I've done 2 different properties. I originally bought a townhouse at Quail Run. When I looked out the back of my unit, because it was easy to get to the airport for my job, and looked at cows. Well, that ended about 4 years later. And it's been nothing but growth since. There's nothing wrong with that, but it isn't necessarily the right thing to do either, because I think we're leaving part of this community behind, and we're not giving a lot of other individuals any reason to look at some of these more distressed communities, unless, of course, you're a flipper and you're purely in this for an investment. And that's a whole nother animal, but I don't think that's what you want in communities, in some of the older communities that have nicer homes that are starting to decay because of age. Our house was built in 1966. I have an acre of land. It's a nice, big, rambling ranch. My husband and I were looking at moving. We're now looking at putting an addition on. But I'm going to price myself out of the neighborhood by doing it. Am I going to do it? Probably. Because I can't find inventory that I like. Nor can I find a builder who can build me the house I'm living in. But it's a real push-pull because the neighborhood, there's decline happening. You guys see it. You see it in existing commercial buildings when people stop investing. I think we have to rethink as a community about investing in existing space. We were here at the hearing regarding your piece of property, Doctor, and my husband brought up about the trees, the 3 oak trees. We can stop all this global warming problem if we just ask developers to quit knocking down mature trees. That saves an awful lot of problem. But it's a lot easier for developers to plow off and regrade than to have consideration. Orchard Highlands was built with every home having a fruit tree on it. It was from the original orchard. The plan was also built when they just didn't plow land off. We have a 160-year-old maple tree in our backyard. Maybe we need to look more at that.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Did you raise your right hand?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
You were sworn? Can you spell your name?
G-R-A-C-H-E.
not.
One
and moved here maybe 23 years ago, and the reason we moved to Peters Township was because of the half-acre requirement. And that made this a special community. And I just want to voice my opinion that I applaud removal of these two parcels from the overlay district and reverting back to the half-acre. And thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing is closed. Thank you. Moving on, looking for approval for the minutes, council meeting held on February 12th.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I move we accept the transcript for this January 22nd, 2024 hearing.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0 for both the minutes and the public hearing transcript, Mr. Lauer. Audience comments on non-agenda items limited up to 5 minutes.
Well, we know what everybody's here for tonight, then.
We're in regular council meeting
Now
now?
we're ready.
Yes.
Okay. Ann Shaner, 123 Robin Hood Lane. I just want to say again, because I didn't like what Mr. Lauer said about the vacuuming of the leaves. I want to put it out there again, that I think that should be a service offered to us without us having to pay for it. Like I said, North Shore Bain does it for free, so does the city of Monongahela, so does the Township of Carroll. I don't think that's too much to ask. I mean, it's not like we all have leaves. I happen to have leaves, but I would like free vacuuming of the leaves. I don't want to bag them. You just...
Paul, can we look into how these municipalities, as Ms. Shaner has mentioned, how they pay for it?
Oh, I can tell you how they pay for it. They pay for it out of their tax dollars. When we looked at this years ago, when we were first required to compost leaves, we talked to other municipalities that do this, and what they universally told us is that their overtime with their public works department for leaf collection far exceeded that which they paid out for snow removal. So it's a very expensive proposition to do this community-wide. And the reason why there's a fee associated with it, if you go to our financing policies that are described in the budget, is that to the extent that you can identify a service that's being provided to a limited number of individuals as opposed to the community as a whole, then there is a fee attached to that. And last year I believe there were 230 homes approximately that had leaf collection in this manner. There are 8,000 homes in Peters Township, so rather than have the remainder of the community pay for that, those who use the service were charged for the service.
Well, I still have, you don't have the time up there, but I know I haven't used up my 5 minutes.
But Mr. Kozer, if you want us to price out what this would cost, I have no problem doing that. As part of the budget.
And that's all I'm asking, because otherwise, Mr. Lauer, I'm going to investigate what you said. I'll go around and talk to all those communities.
You can.
I will. I will do that.
All right, we'll look into it.
Okay?
Shannon.
All right, thanks.
Any other audience comments? All right, seeing none, unfinished business, none, new business. Ordinance amending Peters Township Code of Ordinance, Chapter 440 zoning, Section 400, District Classification, Figure 400.1, quote, current Peters Township zoning map, end quote.
So what this is the ordinance. If you wanted to change the zoning on the properties that were just discussed in the public hearing, you could do that tonight. It would be the adoption of this ordinance that would implement it. In light of the recommendation from the Planning Commission, it's my recommendation that council adopt Ordinance 902, amending the Peters Township Code of Ordinances, and in particularly adopting a change to the zoning map.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Approval for recording purposes of the Froebe Farm plan of lots as shown on plans prepared by JMS Engineering dated November 1st, 2023 for Froebe Management LLC, date November 13th, 2023.
So prior to discussing this, we have a request from the developer asking us to table this tonight to give them an opportunity to be able to respond to the issues that were raised as part of the review by the planning department staff. Mr. Smith and I are of the opinion that that would be appropriate.
Yeah, and council's here, but there are two things. Initially, we also received an extension request for the 90 days. I don't think council should take action on that because I believe we can get this in within that 90-day clock, that we don't need an extension. And I think it's premature because I believe it wouldn't be till early April that the 90 days for Peters Township to act on the recent application, we would have to do so. So I think that part of it, I wouldn't ask you to take action on. But from a standpoint of, from Planning Commission, we told the applicant this was going to probably be on the next council's agenda. It was, as Attorney Montgomery will tell you, their engineer's out of town working on some comment letters. And under the case law, there's a reasonableness standard for the township and the applicant since we're within the 90-day clock, that council doesn't have to take action. It can table this to the next meeting. But David, I'll let you request from council what you'd like.
Okay. I can't say any better than Mr. Smith did, but yes, we're requesting that council table any vote on this issue until the developers had a chance to respond to the comment letter, and it has 27 items, some of them fairly routine or simple, some of them more complex that require, I think, discussions with the staff and the attorneys. So that's going to take some time. So we're requesting that this be tabled from consideration tonight, any vote, to allow that process to continue and the comment letter to be submitted. So.
And it would be my recommendation that we table it until the second meeting in March. The reality is, by the end of this week, I'm putting together the agenda for the next meeting. There won't really be an opportunity.
Do you know what that date is, Mr.
It is March 25th that would be on that agenda.
I'm going to move that.
Wait, we got it.
Okay.
Let Mr. Wren say his piece before.
Are you finished?
I don't know if I'm finished or not. I just want to hear what they're going to do.
I had a question before they vote. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where I was a little confused. You voted to rezone it, but this is the same property we're approving?
No, we're not approving it. We're tabling. Yeah, but we're tabling that action until March 25th.
25th, but Mr. Renz, when you go to change the zoning on a piece of property, if there is a submittal made prior to the enactment of that zoning change, the developer has the right to be able to use the prior regulations, in this case the conservation regulations, to submit a proposal for us to review. This developer has done that, so it's appropriate for us to consider that that submittal under the prior regulations. If by some chance, because there are actually 3 submittals out there on this property, if by some chance none of those 3 end up being approved, the zoning will have changed to low density, and that next submittal would have to be submitted as a low density plan.
Or even if they're ultimately approved and the developer doesn't go forward, council wanted to make sure if the plan failed or this action didn't go forward, that it was always going to revert back.
So the well on the site didn't change?
That issue is what's been tabled tonight. Some of the conditions for the actual application will be before council if they vote to have this be, what you say, the 25th?
Yeah, March 25th.
I believe March 25th is where the nuts and bolts of the application will be before council.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to make a motion that we table this item and revisit it at the March 25th, 2024 council meeting.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, Mr. Lauer.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, set a date for public hearing for ordinance amending Peters Township Code of Ordinances, Chapter 440, zoning section 400, district classification, figure 400.1, current Peters Township zoning map.
And this is a topic that has not been in front of council previously, nor has it been reviewed by the Planning Commission. But based upon presentations made to the township staff, we thought it was important to bring this to your attention. So there's multiple pieces of property that are located off of East McMurray Road in the vicinity of Fire Station 1. What has brought this to our attention is that one of the that large parcel is being prepared for subdivision, and the property that's located to the left of that drawing, there is going to be a subdivision made to accommodate an assisted living facility on that property. And we anticipate that that is going to be coming to us as early as April. But when on the other side of the property, and we've been at this now for a couple of years, I think, there has been a proposal to develop townhomes. And the township staff's position with regard to the developer has always been that given the number of homes, that there would be a requirement that there be a connection onto East McMurray Road rather than have all of that traffic enter and exit through the existing plan. What we discovered when in discussions with this latest submittal is that this property actually has 5 lots that are located on East McMurray Road, and none of the plans we've looked at up to this point have shown that. Those lots were developed many years ago, and they are existing, and what we have heard from the developer and from the property owner is that the intention is that when the subdivision is done, is not to consolidate those properties into the property that will remain. The problem that creates is that it creates a potential where that property could develop and there would be no way to necessarily extend the roadway down to East McMurray Road. So what we think makes sense is to look at changing the underlying overlay zone on the property to the right, so that in fact what you see in that red section would be rezoned low density residential, and if you look at that, it is completely surrounded by that type of use and is consistent with it. And so what our recommendation is that the council authorize us to schedule a public hearing for the purposes of taking testimony as to whether that's an appropriate rezoning of that property in light of what's being proposed.
Paul, can you go back to the photograph or the plan that shows where the townhouses would be? So that plan, as it's currently constituted, couldn't be built anyway, because the way I'm looking at it, it actually looks like the lower portion of those townhouses encroach on
and
those
that's
lots,
exactly
right?
what, in conversation with the developer, that's exactly what they
Now,
told
this,
us.
we have to put our foot down. The idea that someone would come in with a plan like this is an insult. You're talking about 86 houses going into Pleasant Avenue and going on to Marion Drive there. First of all, they would have to get a departure from us for that cul-de-sac, wouldn't they? That cul-de-sac's more than 600
Well,
feet
again,
long,
this
right?
is just a conceptual
understand.
drawing. And
But-
so, I mean, it's not intended to be an engineered drawing, but you're absolutely correct, that cul-de-sac exceeds 600 feet.
No, we have bent over too much in the last, as long as I've been on this council, you know. This area is all surrounded by it's all R1, it's all half-acre lots. The amount of traffic, particularly, I mean, back when they were, the original plan we saw had a drive coming in from East McMurray. For those of you who don't know, that's right across from the old high school. So that's, because the original plan we saw had a four-way intersection there, right? Because they were supposed to put a light
Yes,
on and whatnot. But if that goes away, you're telling me now you're going to have 86 houses that are going to funnel all through Pleasant Avenue down onto Route 19 and all that, when in reality, you could just extend Marion Drive over, maybe put in 10 houses. I mean, I think we should change it.
What's the current zoning?
It's mixed, what is it? Mixed residential overlay,
But
which
that would-
allows for low density, attached and detached, but it also allows for the assisted living type of facility, and it allows for things, as you see, well, it also allows for, apartment buildings, and it allows for this type of use, and where I believe this use as a transition zone might be appropriate, but it's not appropriate if the only way you can enter and exit the property is through the existing streets. I don't think that makes any sense.
So you want to, this is just for public hearing.
I want council to authorize us to have a public hearing.
And what is to determine what we're going to rezone that to?
What we're recommending is that you would remove the mixed residential overlay, and at that point, it could only be developed for low-density housing.
So that would be half-acre lots?
Yes, but it would not change the nursing home. That could move forward as it is, and we're not suggesting that the
So if
zoning
that change occurred, they wouldn't be able to build like apartments there?
They would not.
So it would just be housing?
Well, wait a second. What if the nursing home plan went away? So we'd want to rezone the whole thing again, right? Because what if the nursing home...
Well, if you do that,
But then,
we do not have a submittal yet from the nursing home. And if you were to do that, although they have been diligently moving forward with this, they have not submitted us a plan.
Well, this has about a 15-year history of developments.
Oh, it's been a while.
This most recent one.
The property over here must be.
Paul, but do I remember incorrectly, was that piece along East McMurray, the lower part, was that not commercial before? Was that R1 before it went into the overlay district?
I don't know.
To the west of the firehouse?
Yeah, that part there where the nursing home would be. I thought a part of that was actually commercial.
I don't think that was a...
Maybe I'm remembering wrong. I don't know.
So those 5 new lots, are they owned
If I
by?
may speak, I'm the property owner.
Hold on 1 second, sir. The chairman had a question.
Yeah, so, and maybe this gentleman can answer it. So is those 5 lots, who owns those? Is it?
Mr. Zaholski, who owns all of the property.
Okay, so there's not separate owners there?
No.
Okay.
And they're not developed currently?
Correct.
No.
But is it that way in the county tax maps?
Actually, it's not that way on the county tax maps, and that's why we first learned of this in discussions with the engineer when they were preparing the subdivision, and what we were told is that these lots exist, and we went back and verified. In fact, they show on a prior plan that was done by Larry Elliott a number of years ago, and they go back into, do you remember what year, Mark? Was it 59? Yes. So they've been there for quite some time, and if they're not consolidated into the plan, they will continue to exist and can be sold.
Sir, did you?
Could you go back to the plan showing the townhouse?
Do you mind stating your name?
Yes,
and name and-
Andrew Zaholski, I'm the property owner. I'll sign it.
Thank you.
Okay, first, to your question about some of the, so this line from here to here, this was rezoned under the comprehensive plan as a mixed activity. So that does provide for some commercial use. The rest of it was what was zoned as mixed residential. That provides for the low density. Again, this was part of the 2015 Peters Township Comprehensive Plan, where council at that time specifically wanted to, because again, much of Peters Township is half-acre, single-family use. They wanted to open up a variety of housing options for people, including some, higher density. This, again, is just one conceptual plan. There's another concept where right now this is shown as just an emergency access road. If you flip back to the nursing home plan, you'll see there's going to be a driveway coming up from the fire department. Now go back to the other. So the driveway comes up to the cul-de-sac from the fire department. So this, on this concept, it's showing only, an emergency access road. But one version of the plan that was considered includes extending this as a full road through that cul-de-sac and out. So again, these people, the people here would have 3 full exits. They can go Pleasant Avenue, they can go Marion, which is really quite quick down to East McMurray on Fieldbrook, or they can go out that way.
Mr. Zaholski, I don't want to disagree with you, but when the developer came in for the special exception on this, the recommendation from the township staff was that be a public road. The special exception granted it as a private driveway. So it is. Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish?
To change the.
Can I finish?
Sure.
So it's a private driveway, and it doesn't provide access to the neighboring property for ingress and egress.
Okay, so A, like I say, it's easy enough for us to change that on our request than it is to change the whole zoning of the property. Second, I thought you just said that this actually hasn't been a formal application yet.
But the special exception, which they can rely upon, grants them a private driveway.
But do they have to rely upon that? Can we change that to make the connection so that, if that's the issue?
But I can tell you, Smith Packet has been adamant with me on the telephone that they want that as a private driveway.
Conversations can be had before anything's finalized. If we can go back to the townhomes map again. So the other issue, so again, we do have a potential to have 3 egresses. We have the potential of 3 egresses. Again, another conceptual with the plan is going back to one of the earlier versions where we drop down to here and leave a cul-de-sac here with the potential for the township to connect in later. And this basically boils down to what it is. All of the traffic studies that have been done show that despite the building of, I think it's between 85 and 90 townhomes, we do not generate sufficient traffic to merit a traffic light at that point. The firehouse is right here. And the firehouse will be able to come up here or potentially there. But the amount of trips that we generate is actually quite small. And again, considering that there is through Fieldbrook access to East McMurray, there's access to Route 19 out that way, the amount of trips that we generate is actually quite minimal. There's much more trips generated by existing people who will use our development as a cut through. So we're basically making improvements for other people. We also have that because of the school, you get traffic build up there because of the school already. We, in our submissions, again, in one of the versions we had here, we had proposed making that connection, making this a 4-way intersection, and contributing half of the cost of the traffic light, even though our traffic studies show that our traffic impact doesn't justify it. But again, we're trying to be a good neighbor, and we're trying to work with the township to make a plan that's going to work well for the township. But essentially, we were told, no, you have to pay for the entirety of the traffic light, even though our traffic studies don't generate it. And this whole plan, and so then in going through, we then suddenly found that, you know what, there's actually a recorded plan with these lots that we can carve out and say, okay, well, then we won't, and again, yeah, we may have to adjust exactly where this road is to adjust the grading so we don't interfere with the lots. But basically, you guys are trying to hold us hostage to build a very expensive traffic light that our traffic studies don't generate. And So we found a way around being held hostage. We said, well, okay, well, we found there are these other properties, so if we avoid the other properties, we don't have to do it. And so now the township manager wants to rezone the property out from under us when it's been zoned that way since 2015. I bought the property on the basis of that zoning. I bought it in good faith and have been trying to work with the township, and instead you guys are basically trying to zone it out from under me to hold me hostage for a traffic light that I should not be responsible for. I'm willing to work with you guys, but I can't be held fully responsible and have to pay an extra $500,000 on a traffic light when it's your existing conditions and your existing conditions that are justifying that traffic.
All right, this is not the time or the place to resolve all of this. This was a scheduled agenda item to set a time for a public hearing. Is that correct, Paul?
Yes.
And I move that we close this discussion, okay, and talk about setting a date, which you chose to be
April 8th.
April 8th.
So moved. A motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, Mr. Lauer.
And for the property owner, this has not been in front of this council at all, and this is not the time and the place to try and walk through all of the diverse elements. I have been aware of this property for 15 years, I guess, and a variety of submissions that have been pondered. This is just one more.
I purchased the property in 2014, and it has always been my intention to work with the township to provide the lower the more cost-effective properties that the township desired in a way that beautified and made the township work. It's just, it's hard for me dealing with the planning people when I'm being told I'm being held hostage for traffic studies, for traffic conditions that my development is not generating.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Yes, we voted. Next item, agenda purchase of Ford 250 pickup truck through the Pennsylvania CoStar's Cooperative Purchasing Program.
So the 2024 budget includes an appropriation of $75,000 to replace truck 25, which is a 2015 Ford 250 four-wheel drive pickup truck. The Public Works Director is proposing to replace the existing truck with a 2024 Ford 250. The purchase is being done through CoStar's. The quote provided by Laurel Automotive Group is $52,815. Once the truck is acquired, it'll need to be outfitted, and that we estimate that that'll cost an additional $14,000, making the total approximately $66,815, which is well within the budget. So it's my recommendation that council award a contract to Laurel Automotive Group.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Resolution accepting roads and storm sewers and public improvements in Hamlet of Springdale Phase 4 and 5 plans of lots.
So the roads and storm sewer improvements in Hamlet of Springdale Phases 4 and 5 are complete and ready for acceptance. Gateway Engineer has inspected the improvements. A deed of dedication for the roadway has been created. My understanding that's going to be recorded after this.
As soon as you sign it.
Yes. Back taxes on the parcels have been paid. An as-built plan of the storm sewer system has been submitted, and a video inspection of the storm sewer system has been complete. So what you're accepting tonight are the roads and storm sewers. What will come back eventually after there's a notice of termination from the Washington County Conservation District, acceptance of the stormwater facilities themselves. So,
All right, I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 020424, accepting roads and storm sewers in the Hamlet of Springdale Phases 4 and 5 plan of lots.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
6-0, Mr. Lauer.
Dr. Chairman, before we move on, I wanted to be clear, the motion I made with regard to the public hearing on Dr. Zahalski's property, we're only talking about the portion that doesn't include the nursing home, correct?
that's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure the record clarified that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So noted. Payroll and bills, Mr. Steigel.
Yeah, prior to this evening's meeting, I reviewed the payroll and bills, found everything in order, and moved that they be accepted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, Mr. Lauer. Correspondence, seeing none. Any reports? need to be mentioned?
No, I would point out to you that one of the things you received was a binder tonight that have the annual reports from all the departments.
Thank you. Any miscellaneous items?
Just a couple. As you will recall, we had attempted to order a Kenworth truck and canceled that order when the dealer failed to place the order. We need to replace that truck still, and we intend to do it with an international. It will come to you at the next meeting. It will actually cost less than the Kenworth. The thing that I'd like to be able to do, if I can get a consensus of council, is there are only a few slots left for this year's build, and the dealer is suggesting that we need to give them a letter indicating that it's our intention to purchase a truck. So
That's fine. Okay. I had a question, Paul, about that zoning hearing that was scheduled for the 20th, where they were going to basically getting rid of the setback period. How did that turn out?
They voted to allow for the variance.
In Hackett?
In Hackett, yes.
Can we appeal it?
Certainly can appeal it.
When did they decide, Mark?
What was the hardship? You got to tell me what the hardship was, other than living in Hackett.
Is this for
They didn't really necessarily state that there was a hardship. The other thing
Well, how
they
do you grant a
suggested...
variance? That's the basic element of a variance.
What they were stating is that the paper street really shouldn't be there, and that's why they wanted to see grant them the variance. In fact, they suggested that we look at removing all this paper streets.
Is there any way we can put a note on the approval or something so that someday when somebody tries to open up that paper street, we're not a litigant in an action by the property owner who has to tear their carport down then?
Is a notice as the decision?
Do they do the findings?
It hasn't been written yet.
we can include that.
Okay.
We can include it.
Unless council wants to appeal it, then I don't know.
Well, I think I'm upset that the zoning hearing board wasn't responsive to our comments that we made.
And this is about
through the prior.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mr. Lewis. It's about the third or fourth time that's happened on issues like this in the last couple of years. And I'm starting to wonder if our zoning board understand, not attempting to besmirch anybody, but whether they don't understand what the Pennsylvania legal standard is for the granting of a variance. But that's a discussion for another time.
I think we should appeal it.
So do I, as a former member of the zoning hearing board.
I mean, I don't see why there's a hardship there. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
There's a dimensional variance, right?
I haven't seen the application.
Because it obviously wasn't a use variance, right? So it's a dimensional variance.
Right.
So you have to be able to prove that you can't use the property in its current condition.
Right.
And they're living in the house, right? So the fact that they want a carport doesn't mean they can't use the property.
Or maybe they can construct one that's not 16 by 24 feet.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to make a motion that we appeal it.
I'll second.
a motion and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, Mr. Lawyer.
Okay. That'll send a message to the zoning hearing board.
The reason that we're opposing it is because the setback on that property came to an unopened paper street. And under Pennsylvania law, anybody who owns a lot in a subdivision has an implied easement across that paper street. So if Mr. Arcuri and I live in a neighborhood and we're next door neighbors and there's a paper street running between our properties, and I build up to the paper street and Mr. Arcuri and I have a fight, Mr. Arcuri shows up the next day with a bulldozer and opens up the street, which he's allowed to under Pennsylvania law. And now all of a sudden, my structure becomes non-conforming because it is now up against the street.
I would never do that.
I have property with that situation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other miscellaneous items?
I just wanted to point out to you, and supposedly this is going to get straightened out next month. When the county had its problem with its computer systems, this month's D-transfer tax came in at $32,000. And to put that in perspective, we receive about $2 million a year in D-transfer tax. So for it to be a mere $32,000 is a problem. Having talked to the county, what they're indicating is they did not record deeds for at least 9 or 10 days. And they believe that when February's in March's receipts come in, that will have rectified itself, so we'll see.
Thank you.
I think they're almost caught up.
Well, that just means the numbers in next month will be better, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
Hopefully.
Any agenda items for next meeting from council? Seeing none.
Well, I had a question before we adjourn. I'm sorry. Paul, what's refresh my memory about what's the thing with the solicitors going door to door? Because there's been a lot of people in my neighborhood that have made comments to me about this, and I've actually seen this where there's all these people coming with clipboards. I think they're trying to sell like home improvements or something, and they have no ID on them. I mean, the one guy I talked to, he had no ID on him.
Well,
and some of my neighbors are older, and they're a little bit concerned because
the first thing that they should do is if you have a solicitor at your home and they are not registered, you should dial 911 and have a police officer come. But all solicitors need to register with the police department. They do a background check to make sure that the person coming to the door is reputable, and there are regulations about when and how you can do that.
Well,
so
I know this happens a lot on the weekends. So I know one time I met the guy, it was a Sunday. I mean, if you call the police, will they even know whether a permit was issued or not?
I believe they will. They will. The other thing is that people should know is that in Peters Township, we have a regulation where you can register and they are not permitted to come to your home. And when they register with us, they are given that list. And if in fact they go to a house that's on the list, their permit can be revoked and they can be cited. So I would encourage people, and it's something you need to do on an annual basis, is re-register with that on that list. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Lauer, do you want to talk about the volunteer appreciation dinner?
Yes. Actually, Kyle's going to talk to you about the volunteer appreciation dinner.
I'd sent an email out earlier last week asking for interest in moving the date at Valley Brook Country Club to a date that accommodates Valley Brook Country Club being open. I had proposed, I believe it was the 25th of April, and I just want to get council's opinion if that's a good time to hold that event in the evening.
That's the day of the week.
That's a Thursday.
That's fine.
What's the date?
That's fine.
It's fine
April
with me.
25th.
So I'm going to tell you right now, Kyle, if we have to reschedule this again, we're going back to the gift card.
Yeah, I think, in fact,
I'm to that point.
This is like the most anticipated event in township history. Every time we postpone it.
And I do believe what we were previously doing was actually well received by the boards. I think they appreciated the fact that a councilman showed up at the meetings, and they were appreciative of the gift. So, I mean, that is an alternative.
Yeah. Okay. I'll work with the country club to set that date then. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Very good. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.